Welcome to Musings and Modalities. I'm your host, Tristen Stawicki. Think of me as your pragmatic shaman bestie. Join in with other high-vibe, lovely people as I unravel spiritual ideas to help create change and growth in your life. I cover a variety of spiritual topics, sharing knowledge to meet you wherever you are in your journey. As a shaman, astrologer, and human design reader, I help you understand how to make informed decisions and incorporate different modalities using discernment and your own intuition. Today, you will gain powerful shamanic healing tools you can use to incorporate spiritual practices in non-traditional ways. Whether you're just beginning or need a knowledgeable best friend with the next phase of your journey, I'm here to help. Stay tuned. Musings and Modalities starts now. Hey everyone, and welcome to Musings and Modalities. I'm Tristen Stawicki, your pragmatic shaman bestie, and I'm so excited for today's episode, Farm Fresh Food for Everyone, how the Red Hen app is disrupting the food delivery game with the CEO and co-founder of Red Hen, Lauren Lovejoy. Welcome, Lauren. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I wanted to give a little bit of background before I kind of jump in my questions for you. Lauren is really dedicated to solving the biggest challenges small farmers face and is focused on connecting with customers, right? So, farmers trying to make sure they're reaching customers and really leveraging technology to make direct farm sales more profitable and accessible, which is such a beautiful mission. I really, really love the work that you're doing, and I'm so in awe of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. So for my kind of initial start, your background is really focused in regenerative agriculture, which I know is a very large word and might not be a word a lot of people's familiar with. And it's a huge part of your focus in this world. So can you talk a little bit about regenerative agriculture and how it's helping the world?
Not a lot of people know this, but basically our entire existence is owed to topsoil, right? The thin layer on the ground that grows food. And we just don't think about it that much. But it's being depleted rapidly by conventional agriculture and it's disappearing. And we kind of all think, oh, the world is just in a kind of declining state. There's kind of a negativity around the world. And a couple years ago, I saw Alan Savory's TED Talk about revitalizing the world and improving soil. And he said the topsoil doesn't have to decrease. It can be rebuilt and quickly with intention. And that just was such a big awakening to me that it doesn't have to be this decline, this inevitable end is coming. We as people have the choice every day that we can fix it. So that was just so inspiring to me. And as I reached out and I wanted to connect with other people who were also super excited about this ability to restore it, because not only can we restore topsoil, but we can increase the nutrient density of what is grown in that topsoil. We can improve the ecosystems that exist around that topsoil. And there was just all these benefits that just by doing something in a slightly different way, we could improve the world. And that just excited me so much.
Absolutely. And I've, in kind of my own research, and please correct me where I'm wrong, with this approach, it's often better for the land and it's better for farmers, right? And so when there was this model of farmers focusing on perhaps one crop, it's really depleting to the land and the ability to kind of, just like we need change, right? We look in our pantries, we need some change, we need some different things, we
Right. If you eat the
right?
same food every single day, you're eventually going to have a nutritional depletion. You're not getting your variety. And the land is exactly the same way. Monocropping is one expression of it. Regenerative agriculture can be done a million different ways. And I think that's what makes it kind of hard to grasp is not tilling the soil is an expression. Rotational grazing is an expression. Monocropping, changing that to poly systems and food forests and biodiversity. Those are all different expressions, but it all leads to improved soil conditions at the end of the day.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And with the idea being that the better soil, the better kind of food we have, and it's just more interesting and more fun,
It
hopefully we're,
is. It's kind
yeah,
of how the world works, right? Like we don't
right.
want to fight how nature exists.
No, when you
So,
walk into a beautiful ecosystem in the forest and different places, you see different colors and experiences and textures, and there's such beauty in that
right.
richness.
You've never walked across a field of broccoli in nature, right?
Not at
So.
all. Beautiful. And then I want to tie in kind of this exciting venture that you have. You just launched an app, Red Hen, which has the best tagline. That's why I had to use it for the show tagline, which is Farm Fresh Food for Everyone, with that beautiful goal of connecting farmers to customers for seamless pickup or delivery, which is awesome because so many of us use apps on our phone for food that's to be delivered very quickly. That's maybe not as nutrient rich, maybe not a choice that we always want to make, you know. And I really personally like connect with this mission, but I'd love to kind of hear from you about why now and what's brought you to Red Hen.
Well, I wish it was here 10 years ago, right? But it wasn't, so we'll work on it now. But essentially, as I wanted to learn about agriculture myself, I'm a weirdo. I want to do it and I want to find all the problems. So I started farming in my early 30s, which is probably like not the time to say, like, I'm going to choose agriculture as my hobby, right? But I did. And I found it was so incredibly difficult. Like everybody's like, oh, farming is difficult, but okay, yeah, no, it really is. All right. So we had this problem that one of the main things that we raise on our farms is pigs. They're a huge driver of regenerating soil, which is what we needed on our farm. And I would either have zero product, like pounds of meat, or I would have hundreds and hundreds of pounds of meat at a time because when a litter of piglets is born, you raise them, and that takes, anywhere from 10 months to a year and a half, just depending on your pig's lifespan. And so for a year and a half, I could have nothing. And then all of a sudden, I have 600 to 800 pounds of meat and no customer basis that was ready. So as a farmer who's not doing this full time to maintain a product line, like, okay, people come, I need 800 pounds of meat sold by tomorrow. That's not like super easy. And then as I developed this deeper appreciation for once you eat farm fresh foods on a regular basis, it is very hard to go back to a grocery store on a normal basis. So I said, well, I want to buy all of our meat for a year from local farms. I live in cattle country, Virginia. I did not think that that was going to be that hard, right? Like I started with something easy. And I couldn't, and I actually still can't. Like with how involved around me, I still cannot supply me and my spouse, just two people, on locally grown, sourced regenerative beef. And it's just crazy to me that in the middle of an agricultural state, those connections still cannot be facilitated. So that's where the app came from, is that there's these two worlds that each have these different connections, and we just need technology to connect in the middle. If my usual beef person is out of it, I want to be able to find another one and another one. And I keep, reaching out. Oh, I'm out. Call me in 2 months, like, and that's what's normal. As opposed to if we just have an app that says, I want this much, here it is, here's how close or far, or get it shipped, delivered. That was my hope, is just facilitating that connection.
No, that's beautiful. And I think so often as we think about sustainability and really spending the time to, just live more thoughtfully. It's so nice when things are easy. For instance, like I have
Yeah.
like a compost service, right, that comes and picks it up and I don't have to handle it. And that's really nice. And so having a service like this where it's like I don't need to research for months, like I can just know that these are incredible farmers that will have access. And if they have things to sell and ship, great. And if they're in a month where it's not as, there isn't a lot for them to sell, they're able to just communicate that. Like that's really, really beautiful. Now, have
Yeah,
you
I
found,
mean, we're in an age of convenience,
right?
We're in an age of convenience where that's expected, right? Like, not everybody has the time to even do that deep dive to find those things. So that's where just what can we do to bring that convenience to everybody? Not just to the people who have the time for farmers market, not to the people who are just too busy.
And what I really appreciate, because I've worked on the other side of this, I've actually in my day job worked on like food delivery apps and things like that. And what I found was actually when talking with the merchants, they actually had a disconnect where maybe they didn't speak as highly of their relationship with that connection. And what I really appreciate about Red Hen is that that's foremost at the like front of the mission, which is not only to have provide a great experience for customers, but to really be fair to farmers. So if you could talk a little bit about that kind of thought behind that model.
Yeah, I fairness to farmers is a very overlooked subject, so it's always great to talk more about that. Farming is difficult, and typically in wholesale models, farmers are paid 10 to 30 cents on the dollar, just depending on your wholesale connection. And so, is there any universe in which food is the lowest margin product, and then we expect farmers to survive on 10 to 30 cents on the dollar? And we're like, why are farms disappearing? Well, because it's the hardest job. You're paying them the least, like, they can't make it. So, as a farmer connection, there are so many needs of what we need to do to serve farmers. But the biggest one is they have to stay in business if we want to do that. So, that kind of returned to the discussion around regenerative agriculture versus conventional. A lot of consumers want better food. But how are we going to go to a farmer who is barely hanging on 3 generations of just skimming by every single year to hold the family farm together? And then we say, we want you to do this different, do it better. Well, that's not a fair criticism in any single way because they don't have the ability to do that. So it really brought it back to we have to meet farmers where they are, and what they are is they need to survive. They need to be able to keep going. And so for those who are doing it correctly and meeting them, if you only had a small crop of broccoli today, that's the inventory you're providing, not, hey, I need 60. No, that's unrealistic. So that's that meeting the farmers where they are in their existence. And that's what the app of, if you're out of meat, you're out of meat. That's fine. Go to somebody else and I'll meet you again when you come back. And that's, to me, I could go on and on about the challenges that farmers face,
Yeah.
but meeting them where their challenges are, because every single farm has such a variety of challenges. How can we find a middle ground?
Absolutely. And hopefully this can help as farmers make decisions about where to invest their time, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, like understanding and having that closer relationship with the customer can help them make further decisions too, because you have data. It's not just, sharing it with a grocery store, selling it that way, or a farmer's market, which is dependent on weather and things like that. So it's
Yeah.
really, really lovely to have access to that information.
Yeah. Mhm.
What's so great about your background is that you're someone, as we've spoken to, really deeply connected to the land. You have a farm. You are the owner of one of my favorite organizations that I've fangirled over for like years now, Regenerative Farmers of America. You aren't some tech bro in San Francisco saying like, let's bring tech to farmers, right? It's
Right.
which is so refreshing because I've seen those companies and you feel the lack of
Yeah.
truth, right? You feel the lack
Yeah.
of truth.
Yeah.
And so we've talked a little bit about your background, but um, outside of what we discussed so far, how has your experience with farming kind of shaped the app's design and ease? And I believe you now have two apps, one specifically for farmers and then one specifically for the customers, right?
Yeah, it's a two-sided app that one's the purchasing and one's the farmer upload. And, the Silicon Valley, there are some apps that are kind of similar, and some of them are actually more from farms that created them, and some are more from the tech bro. And I feel that both are kind of missing this integration, and I hope they get there, right? Like maybe
Yeah.
they'll start copying me or something and we can facilitate it. I just want there to be more. I just want there to be more connection, and I don't care if it's me or somebody else, but I want tech bros don't know how to speak to farmers, and farmers struggle to speak forward to consumers because they're enveloped in what they're doing. It's very hard to go pull a live birth and then talk to somebody about their concerns about the meat, how it was raised. It's very hard to switch those channels. So I think just having something that can come from both sides and hold both sides equally is a hard middle ground. So, all I'm trying to do is say, hey, farmers, what do I need to do to serve you? And that's kind of how the app was built. And the conversation I want is just to be ongoing. If you don't like something about it, tell me because I want to fix it and I want to change it so it continues to serve you. And customers are the same. They need to tell us what we need to do as farmers to help serve them better. And so that's where everybody's part of this conversation. Like we need to speak up and say, okay, this is what I can do to make the system better, and this is what I can do. And we just keep building that beautiful system that creates that connection. But we need to have those people who say those things, not just back up and say, I don't know if this is a fit. That doesn't help, right? Say, what do I need it to be a fit? And we need both sides of that conversation.
Absolutely. Especially like we want our farmers to use their expertise with the land, truthfully,
Yes.
right? Like
Right.
I don't need a farmer that's great at customer service. We have plenty of
Yep.
incredible people that are great at
Yep.
customer service that are not great
Exactly.
at farming. So like let our farmers focus, please.
Yes.
So that's really, really beautiful. And as we think about ways to really help our farmers, of course, highly recommend downloading the Red Hen app, but what are some other ways we can better connect with our local farmers that you've seen be helpful?
I hate to say it, but the connection is communication, right? To facilitate those individual one-on-ones, because the challenges the farmers in your area face are all going to be diverse and interesting. And if you ask them, they will tell you, hey,
Yeah.
how's the weather? You're going to learn a little bit more about how the weather affects everything that you're growing than what you want. But it's just about that, whether it's a farmer's market, whether it's messaging somebody through the app, whether it's a different one, like just reach out and start talking about it, like just for my example, want to buy my meat in 30-pound increments for my gal down the street. And I say, what can I be doing to facilitate making that work for you? And she says, if you're going to be a consistent buyer, I can escalate what I'm growing because I know you'll be there to buy it in a couple years. And that way she knows to prepare and do more. And, and she could respond to me and say, well, 30 pounds is really hard on me. Can you do 40 or 50? Absolutely. Like those simple conversations create that connection that allow them to plan for our needs. And
Mm.
with farming, growing out beef is a 2-year process. They
Oh,
need to
wow.
know. They need
Yeah,
to know
right.
in advance. And even some of vegetable farmers. I have this wonderful girl out in Oklahoma, and she just says, I just need people to tell me what they want to eat this year because then I can grow it. And it'll take me 30 to 60 days to mature it, but then I can have it for you. As opposed to if you don't tell me what you want, how can I meet you there? I'm just guessing. So
Mhm.
start those conversations, talk to them about your needs, hear what's going on with them, and real human connection gets us there.
Absolutely. And it was such a relief to kind of hear kind of how you're working to solve this problem because personally, when my local farm at the grocery store. And when I do, it's incredibly expensive, and I'm worried about food security. I'm worried about, it's just my spouse and myself, but for those with larger families, like food security is a real challenge as prices continue to rise. And what I love about this is it's like we're not only helping farmers, but we're able to really see and like plan for affordability and what makes sense, and maybe that's changing a little bit of our shopping to I now have a deep freezer, right? I now have a deep freezer, so I'm able to purchase more and like store it. And so if you wanted to kind of talk to the customers that are using the app and that are hopefully going to be incoming, what are some other things that maybe at home they can kind of change their habits of a little bit in the way they think about shopping?
I mean, I think the baseline is just to if you can buy it local, do it, right? A
Yeah.
deep freeze is a great kind of, I would say, an advanced step, right? Like,
Yeah.
just I think eggs are the lovely gateway drug. There are so many people that have backyard flocks, so it's not necessarily, well, I have to drive 30 miles to go find a farm. No, you can find people who are producing eggs in your backyard and just make a quick stop at a farm stand on your way home and find out why their $3 to $4 eggs are significantly better than those $12 eggs that you could have avoided at the grocery store. There's these little things that just, yes, it may be slightly more inconvenient to go 2 blocks over on your way home from that store, but I think once you start those changes, you're going to realize like how much that quality affects your life in a positive way. And then we just kind of keep going, what else can I replace on a daily basis that brings me better connected to my food? So just kind of foregoing small conveniences to caring more.
No, I love that. And I also find it's kind of fun to be like, well, what's growing? There's a local farm that's maybe 2 miles from me. Now that I'm living in the country, which has been so healing. It's been about two
Yes.
months now, and it's just been so lovely to be like, oh, I need to plan because there's going to be a tractor in front of me probably if I'm running late. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just little things like that, always. Um, and it's been so lovely to be like, let me just see what their harvest is today to see what I want to make for dinner. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Rather than being
Yeah.
like spoiled for choice, where you're like, I don't know. It almost is it's allowed me to like rediscover shopping in a beautiful way, which is like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this looks great, and I'll have this and that. And I also am able to, I find more flexibility with our local farmers, where it's like, if I only need one or two potatoes, I'm not having to buy a bag of something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, which is really, really lovely. Or you're not shocked at the size of an onion that's bigger than my head. Like
You're right.
sometimes you see these like Frankenstein vegetables, and you're like, this is not okay. At the
And
grocery store.
I think something that just keeps me awake at night is not knowing what's in that food when I get
Yeah.
to the grocery store.
Yeah.
When you buy it local, the farmer is going to tell you what's in it, how they grew it. They're probably going to tell you whether you asked or not anyway. We're
Yeah.
so proud of what we do. But just what a backyard farmer or a small scale farmer is going to use as opposed to what an agrochemical company is going to use. Like all day and all night, I'm still going to pick what that person, even if it's possibly something I don't agree with, it's probably a lot safer than whatever chemical mix or preserving it that it was not picked. It was on a truck for 2 months coming from a different country. Those are kind of the things that just I struggle to be in a grocery store anymore because I just feel like I don't know what I'm getting. And the Frankenstein is just the tip of the iceberg example of what's going into your body. And that's with health is a huge concern to me. And I just really struggle in that space.
No, absolutely. And I actually is a beautiful kind of segue to the next thing I want to discuss with you. The energetics of food and how nutrient rich a food is so really fascinating to me because I've played around with this. I've been doing energy work for a long time now. And before I work with clients, or do, energy work for myself or ritual, I can really tell when a food is supportive versus when it's not, or when it almost feels dead, which is fascinating. You're just like,
Right.
oh, this, you know what I mean? Like a stone in a river has a lot more life than this potato I'm holding, which is sad, right?
Yeah, it
Um,
does.
yeah. And so as we think about kind of nutrient-rich food, I really think like my personal viewpoint is like working with our local farmers really helps provide the no most nutrients for our money, which is like so worth its weight in gold to me because if I'm feeling good, I can better support my clients and vice versa. My clients are then out in the world doing incredible things. And so when you think about kind of the energetics of food, if you wouldn't mind sharing your own experiences with that.
Yeah, so health is drastically important to me because I've had significant health issues through my life, a lot of which were not supported through Western medicine, and food was a huge component of my healing. And, I refer to beef a lot just because beef was a huge component of my healing. And just the energetic difference of beef raised locally without vaccines, hormones, injections, everything, right? Like that beef made me feel so much better as opposed to if I ate beef that was from a conventional store, I didn't feel better. And that's just one example, right? And we talk about regenerative agriculture systems that the soil is more nutrient dense. Well, that nutrition in that soil and that energy is passed on to the consumer. And like you said, if it sits on a truck for 2 months or however long it takes to get to you, it's losing it. If you stick it in a microwave and zap it to death, there goes all your nutrients and energy. And so if we're consuming calories in food, why aren't we putting stuff that is re-energizing our cells at a cellular level and rebuilding our body? Like that's the whole regenerative agriculture, but I think of it as like regenerating humans as well, because as humans, we're in a huge health crisis about all the contaminants in our world. Well, if you want to give yourself a fighting chance, we have to start with nutrition in our body. And I just, it's a whole different thing to eat a green bean that was pulled out of your backyard and you ate it 2 hours later, as opposed to a green bean that it's from South America. Who knows how long it's been on that truck? So I think just energetically, we
Absolutely.
are getting to choose what energy goes into us. Like, yes, we can do that through intention and existence, but isn't your food such a huge connector?
No, definitely. It really, really is. And especially when we think about connection to the land, which so many of us are striving to continue, like that's such a core part of it, right? Of
Right.
like, like I love growing like tomato plants. And it's so beautiful because you get to see just like the journey with pollinators and different things, and you just feel kind of the love that goes into it, which is so beautiful. I think I read something that like our houseplants like know have a sense of our energy and know when we're home. And I was just like, whoa, that changed my whole view of my garden. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like having pets outside, honestly, which is so
It
lovely and beautiful.
Yeah, and but that's everything, right? All energy work is about the interconnectedness of energies. So no matter where you're adding or subtracting it, it's all a component of it, whether you're just growing a tomato in your backyard or you have three chickens that are adding more nutrients to that soil that, it doesn't have to be a farm and a giant ecosystem. Like even in your home, if you're creating those plants that are breathing more, oxygen into you, like your environment, you are in complete control of. And I think that's where we can all meet it where we want to. It does not have to be throw out everything and go move to the middle of nowhere. We don't have to do that. We can all be part of this where we want to meet it. And yeah, we'll connect.
That's so beautiful. No, thank you
Mhm.
for sharing that. As you think about kind of, I know you did a huge thing with launching an app. So wanted to highlight that because like it's a lot. It's a lot of work and thought and everything. But as you think about kind of your milestones or your big goals with Red Hen, is there anything you'd love to share that you're kind of working towards or your pie in the sky dream?
Yeah, my insanity dream is I hope to pull a significant buying dollar away from grocery stores. And I think that sounds insane, but it actually like legitimately could work. If we started moving 20% of our buying dollar, or, if you're an overachiever, 50% of your buying dollar back to local foods and communities, I think we could reverse the loss of American farmland.
Mm.
We're losing 100. less or 50% less. Like, I think it would just change our entire world with a simple change. And that's kind of my dream, is we can make that happen. It's just not that hard, and convenience could possibly bring it there.
No, I love that. I live in an area that has legitimately 27 different franchises of grocery stores, and we don't need that many. Like, that's absolutely insane.
We do not need that.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they continue to build more and more. And it's honestly a little bit sickening because you're like, that's a lot of waste, right? Truthfully, that's a lot of waste. That's just a lot
Right.
of disconnection. It's a lot of more trucks on the road, all of those things. And so, yeah, no, I love an insanity goal. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's incredible, absolutely achievable. Like, let's go. That's really, really beautiful. As we kind of wrap up the episode, is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I think that's a wonderful coverage. I just encourage everybody to download the app, try to facilitate that connection, go to your farmers markets, connect. The app is brand new, so if there's not a farm immediately near you, they are coming. There are more being added every day. So just kind of stay patient with it, as everything. It's not born overnight, but just that slow incremental change, and we'll get there.
Yes, and this is across the US. So it's
It
not
is.
just, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
just East Coast, not just Virginia. This is a huge kind of mindset kind of shift, which is beautiful. Like, what a
Yeah.
great invitation.
Oh,
And I'm
we all need access, right? It's not based in a locality.
absolutely. And as you think about, is there coaching that you're helping farmers with on when as they're adding shipping processes, or do you find farmers already have kind of shipping processes built in?
Everybody's different. It's a meet
Yeah.
where you are. So we're adding shipping next month. It was a slow start, but there'll be pickup, delivery, shipping. Each farm sets what they need. And so when you search and you say, I want a farm within 10 miles of me that I can do pickup, I can find it. If you want somebody ships you the greatest ham ever created in the United States, you can also do that, right? Like, so meet people where they are, meet the farmers where they are.
No, that's beautiful because if it's a two-person operation, it's a very different. They don't have
Yeah.
time to,
And that's
like,
what I mean. We'll start
yeah.
you if you're in your backyard
Love that.
with 6 eggs a week. Like, that's great. If
Oh,
you are like a 300-acre farm, like, both are great. We want everyone to be there.
absolutely. No, that's so, so beautiful. And I love the sense of community. It's not competition, it's collaboration,
And
because we all have the same goal, which is to eat incredible, nutritious food and to, live long, healthy lives, which is a stunning goal.
it is, it is.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this episode, Farm Fresh Food for Everyone, how Red Hen app is disrupting the food delivery game with our special guest, Lauren Lovejoy. Thank you so much for being here. This was truly an incredible conversation.
Thank you so much for bringing it. It was amazing.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for watching Musings and Modalities with me, your pragmatic shaman bestie. Tune in the second and fourth Thursdays of each month at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern for more fabulous episodes. Thank you for listening. You've been listening to Musings and Modalities with me, Tristen, your pragmatic shaman bestie. For more powerful healing tools, join me every second and fourth Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. I cover a variety of topics to meet you wherever you are at on your spiritual journey. Learn techniques to work with pendulums, past life healing, astrology, and more. Please share the show and subscribe for more guidance from your pragmatic shaman bestie at musingsandmodalities.com.